So the question is a very common one, and that is that many people, non-Muslims and sometimes even Muslims, are perturbed that how come Aisha, our mother, was married at a very young age. Aisha's age has been narrated by herself in the first person by multiple chains, reported in Bukhari and Muslim and every single book of hadith. That's the problem. It's pretty explicit and clear. Her own nephew, Hisham ibn Urwa, from his father Urwa, from Aisha. Masruq from Aisha. Others from Aisha. They all report the exact same thing in the most authentic books of hadith, with the chains that are like the sun. They are as bright as the sun. These are called the golden chains. They are the most authentic chains of all of Islam. And they're found in Bukhari and Muslim. And these ahadith are found in Bukhari and Muslim. That Aisha said that the Prophet ﷺ married me when I was 6, and he began living with me. He consummated the marriage when I was 9, and he passed away when I was 18. So first person, narrated by multiple tabi'un who heard it directly from her, and therefore pretty straightforward, right? On top of this, many Sahaba also reported the same thing. Ibn Mas'ud reports and reported in Tirmidhi that the Prophet married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated when she was 9 and passed away and she was 18. This is Ibn Mas'ud is saying the exact same thing as Aisha, right? And the age of Aisha was a given. It was something that was understood to be very young. Why? Because there is an authentic hadith in Bukhari and Muslim in her own voice. She narrates that I was 6 years old when the nikah took place with the Prophet ﷺ, and I was 9 years old when the nikah was consummated. And every bit of information that we know fits into this narrative. So why deny it? Shakespeare wrote his famous Romeo and Juliet. Do you know that the first actors that played Romeo and Juliet were how old? 15 and 14 years old. The boy was 15, the girl was 14. For Shakespeare's time, now, if we had a Romeo and Juliet play, the content and the love scenes and the romance, we would project it onto an 18 or 19 and a 19 or 17-year-old, you know? We would say, oh, this is a young man and a young woman. In our age, in 2014, Romeo and Juliet, we think of like a 19-year-old with his 17-year-old sweetheart or 18-year-old sweetheart. That's our version. Well, when Shakespeare wrote the play, it was for a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old. Right? Only 500 years ago. In that age and time, people matured faster. They were not treated like little kids in the bodies of adults. Adolescence didn't exist in that regard. When you became a young man or woman, biologically mature, you were treated like a young man and a woman. And therefore, culture changes. In America, 100 years ago, young ladies, 100 years ago, young ladies would get married regularly at the age of 13 and 14. That is why until very recently, literally like a few decades ago, in some states, including my own state of Tennessee where I currently live, the law said that you have to be 14 years old to get married. Recently they changed that, updated that. But when the laws were written 100 years ago, what was the age they put for marriage? 14. Now you tell me, today, if somebody marries a 14-year-old, he's going to go to jail. And that is, they say, for example, your prophet, astaghfirullah, was, and they use a very vulgar word, interested in young people. And I don't want to use the word out of respect for the Prophet, because the age of Aisha was young age. It was 9 years old in the Sahih Bukhari hadith. Okay? She was 9 years old according to hadith of Bukhari. And so they use a very vulgar word. And I've had young men and women come to me, Muslims, and they say, how can we accept this? This is something that is vulgar. It's unethical. I can't believe that a prophet would do this. You know, these things change. Ladies become mature. We understand. Although this is not explicit, but it is understood. It's common sense. What happened at 9 that Aisha then became consummated? It's obvious. She hit puberty. It's understood. 500, 1,000 years ago, the world over, people were marrying at younger ages. Why? Because the lifespan was shorter and young kids became mature faster. A 9-year-old of 1400 years ago is like a 16, 17-year-old intellectually and biologically of our times. 6 years old, and even if you say a consummation occurs at 9, and our Prophet is in his early 50s, okay? It's something that it is atypical in our times. In fact, it would be illegal in most countries in our times. Oh, Muslims, don't apologize for the truth and don't distort the truth. There are Muslims that try to deny this. Oh, he didn't marry Aisha as a young girl. Ya akhi, look, that's not the way forward. We don't lie for the sake of our religion. Astaghfirullah. We have the truth. We're not going to cover up the truth if people find it embarrassing. This is the reality. Deal with it.